Greetings, everybody. Welcome to the Moon Muse. I apologize for my extreme absence. I've been on an epic travel, and I'll write about it and share with you all that I've been through everywhere I've gone, the big life change that it brought to me. You know, in Vedic astrology, my rising star is the lucky feet. And the lucky feet is the sign of the pilgrim. And a pilgrim undergoes journeys. Any of you who know me know that my whole life has been one big journey. I've been traveling since I was a little kid, practically. And yeah, the moss doesn't grow under my feet. And that's also frustrating. I mean, it may sound romantic, but it's also a little bit unstable and unsettling sometimes to have a life where you keep moving and keep going and trying new things and endings and beginnings. Some people I've learned have really stable, consistent lives. But anyway, I digress. So that's why I have been a bit in absentia. And I'm back now in the United States, so you'll see a lot more of me. My existence is a little bit more grounded here. And I'm coming on the night of our solar eclipse. So people have been asking me about eclipses and what they're all about. I mean, there's so much information and even fear mongering around eclipses. And I just wanted to share with you all a little bit about what I know and how I experience them to give you something to work with. I mean, astrology, unfortunately, has been degraded oftentimes into the realm of fatalism and fortune telling and superstition and fear mongering, and it just doesn't really serve the point of what this knowledge is good for. This is a tool for alignment with the natural flow of the universe, which we call Dharma. It allows us to get in alignment with what is available to us for our conscious growth and evolution. There's this notion that this is a co-participatory universe, and that the tool of astrology helps us to see into what the larger array has to offer so that we don't fight against it. Our suffering, and I've realized this very recently myself, that our suffering is caused by unmet expectations. Well, I really wanted it to be this way. I really hoped that it would work out that way. And it ends up being completely opposite or opposed to what your heart's desire is. And that's what we call suffering. That's frustration, dukkha in Sanskrit. But if we can have this kind of inside information that comes to us through this amazing system of knowledge called Jyotisha, which is really enlightenment. It doesn't mean astrology. It means the path to awakened life insight. If we have this tool, then, we may not like the outcome, but it gives us something to align ourselves with outside of our own personal and petty desires. So this is a big preamble to discussing tonight's eclipse. So eclipses happen twice a year. We go through eclipse season, and we usually have only 4 eclipses per year. In 2020, we had 6. That should tell you everything that you need to know. But in a normal year like 2026, we're only going to have four, and we already had the first two in end of February, beginning of March. The solar eclipse comes first, followed by the lunar eclipse, and that is called the eclipse portal. So there's really like two stages to the portal. There's the time in between the solar eclipse and the lunar eclipse. That's one portal, we could call it. And then there is from the lunar eclipse to the next solar eclipse, which usually is 6 months later. So now here we are 6 months later after the last lunar eclipse, which was on March 3rd. And now we have undergone, or we're undergoing, I think it's over now by the time you'll listen to this recording, the actual eclipse. We're undergoing the solar eclipse, and then on the 28th of August, we'll undergo the culminating lunar eclipse. So this is one period of, we could call it transition or liminal cycle. What eclipses do is they stir everything up. They give us a cleanse. Actually, twice a year, we're given this kind of opportunity to let go of everything that has brought us to this point within the last 6 months. So our life proceeds in these 6-month cycles in which a certain theme predominates, a certain state of mind, a certain soul lesson that you're undergoing. And the eclipse gives you an opportunity to let it go. This is also the reason why eclipses have been considered inauspicious, because they tend to bring abrupt, sometimes radical endings, disappointments, unexplained losses. Whatever it is, it's like a closing that tends to happen. And this is why in India, during eclipse, people take a ritual bath, or they fast, or meditate to mark this moment of passage. The sociologists call it the liminal state of being, betwixt and between. And that's why it's a good idea not to really make any big decisions between this first portal, between the solar eclipse and the lunar eclipse. This is a time of complete, evaluation. And what are we evaluating with this eclipse? Interestingly, we have a beautiful lineup in the sky tonight. We have, of course, the sun and the moon, because the solar eclipse takes place on a new moon. So it's a new moon in the sign of Āśleṣā, which is a nakshatra, star constellation in the sign of Cancer. And Āśleṣā is the coiled serpent, the serpent that's ready to strike. You know, I would imagine that serpents in their normal state of being are lying prone, they're not in that hypervigilant state. But Āśleṣā symbolizes that hypervigilant state in which our intuition, the deep subconscious mind, comes to the surface. So, on one end of the spectrum, you may have felt some kind of sadness, or ending, loss, maybe some grief in the days leading up to the eclipse and the days following. But whatever's coming up, it's an emptying out of deep buried impressions. And the way that they're felt is through irrational emotions. This is not a time to make sense of the emotions. It's a time just to be with them. And then we have Jupiter also in the lineup that's being affected by the eclipse. And Jupiter is beautifully in this exalted position, as we know, in the sign of Cancer, which brings a kind of enlightenment. Jupiter represents guru, wisdom, the higher truth that wants to come through. And that is really viscerally available for us right now. We can really start to make sense of the old emotional impressions, the ancestral grief that we carry. That's a really big theme in this eclipse portal between the solar and the lunar eclipse. Those things that we're carrying around that actually may not even have anything to do with who we are meant to be in this lifetime. So we get an opportunity to look at it with the eyes of wisdom. That's the meaning of Jupiter. And Mercury is here. And that can bring obsessive thoughts. I know I've been in a loop of obsessive thinking. And AI doesn't help because now we have a buddy we can consult. What do you think about this? What should I do about that? So the danger with Mercury in this position is that the raw emotions can hit the mind and make a kind of need to try to figure it all out and solve the problem right now. This is not the time to solve any problem, my friends, between the solar and the lunar eclipse. Like I said, it's one portal. It's a liminal state. You have full permission from Dr. Katie to take it easy between now and the 28th of August. August is a transitional month in 2026. It's not necessarily a time for great big decisions, but a time of cleansing, letting go, evaluating with the eyes of wisdom, and distracting your mind from getting into endless loop. Then what happens with the lunar eclipse that's going to take place on the 28th of August? That's going to happen in the constellation Shatabishak, and I'll talk about it more when that time comes. But Shatabishak means she who is surrounded by 100 healers or 100 healing remedies. So the culmination is a great healing. Eclipses affect us in different ways depending on the axis, meaning where the solar eclipse takes place and the lunar eclipse takes place. They're usually opposite one another in the zodiac. And here Shatabishak is opposite Āśleṣā, which promises a great resolution to whatever it is that's troubling your being, troubling your mind, wanting to get released, coming up, coming forward. The culmination is tremendous healing. And then after the lunar eclipse, we have a 6-month period. And that 6-month period carries the new soul signature for the next, like I said, 6 months of your life until February of 2027. So whatever you've been carrying since the first part of the year is now officially over, and you're entering into a blank slate. And the blank slate is based on a healing that needs to take place in your life, a letting go, a realization, a recognition. And it's, this is actually a very special eclipse because we have the energy of Jupiter here. Jupiter assures that grace is present in whatever you're going through in life. that there's wisdom available, that there's knowledge, that there's guidance. So these are the comments that I wanted to make about the eclipse. It's not a big bad bully, waiting for punishment for any of us. It is simply a very natural process of shedding our skin. Āśleṣā, the constellation, it has all the image of the serpent who sheds his skin and gains renewal. So the next chapter is one of new beginnings, of rebirth, of letting go of what doesn't serve you anymore, those people, places, and things that are not adding to your soul's growth and evolution. And it doesn't have to be an intellectual decision. Like I said, Mercury is also here in the lineup, that wants to figure it all out. This is just all happening on its own. And that's why the sages recommend that, rather than try to do anything about it, instead, meditation, spiritual practice, fasting, these kinds of practices really allow us to participate in what's already happening. And you'll know if you push against that natural flow of dissolution and endings, that you'll come up against an uncomfortable feeling in yourself. And so maybe you'll remember my words. And I'm talking about in this portal, between now and the 28th of August, you'll remember my words that if it comes up, remember stop, drop, and roll. I don't know if you guys remember that advice. When I was a kid, there was a television commercial on about, if you ever happen to catch on fire, this is what you do. You stop, drop, and roll. It's a similar thing with the eclipse. You stop, you drop in, and you roll with the flow of the release. And September promises to be actually quite an incredible month. And it's built on this kind of necessary healing that's coming up in your life right now. So this is what I wanted to share with you all. I'm really happy to be back, and I'll be back with the Moon Muse, and I'll be a lot more consistent now that my big epic journey has come to an end. But I also know that it's like the beginning of a big chapter in my life, and I really need to process it all with you guys. So I'll be writing about it and sharing over the next couple of weeks, months ahead. But in the meantime, I'm back stateside. If you'd like to check in on what the next 6 months hold for you, I've included a link to my schedule below if you'd like to get in my calendar and book a Vedic reading. These kind of uncertain times are really, really powerful for looking at the way that the eclipse is influencing your Vedic birth chart specifically, and what you can expect over the next 6 months. What does this period look like for you? So I've included the link to my schedule and how to sign up below. And happy to be back. Please share your comments. Let us all know what this eclipse portal is bringing up in your life. I always love to get the comments from you all. And sending you lots of love, and hope everything is going great for you in the summer. It's so wonderful. It's summer, at least in the Northern Hemisphere. Sending lots of love for you all. Bye.